From the Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 9. Powered by Century Ply and Orient Electric.
Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And I wish you health above all, and I wish you togetherness, and I wish unity to all of us. For in this fight, unity and the willingness to battle everything that we are going to face together as a country, together as a community, as a family, matters above all. And therefore, I request you not to leave negativity unopposed. For those whose only contribution at this challenging time is negativity must be put in their place and put in their place effectively so they don't infect others. And those who, like creeping opportunists, want to use pictures of workers going home on foot to tell the world that India does not care, to tell the world that we don't care for our poor, must be called out as liars, for they do what liars like them do. Liars who spread a negative narrative to get their $500 paychecks from a corona-hit United States of America and not shout out loud with pride that our nation has announced more for the poor of this country in the economic package than any other country has. And that is why people like Raghuram Rajan should keep their lips sealed. Raghuram Rajan, in whose time the worst corruption happened in India's banking sector, is now sitting in the United States of America. And instead of pointing out what's happening there, he preaches that India's lockdown will not be effective. Well, Raghuram Rajan should know that in his American state of Indiana, in the USA, there are more cases than all of India. And Raghuram Rajan, who is neither a public health expert nor a doctor, should tell the people of India whether he has a better solution, which he doesn't, so he should keep quiet. And so, viewers, if we are going to win this, which we will, we have to confront the truth. We have to confront with better facts and with more truth on our side these amateur armchair gang of lockdown critics. Because I repeat, and you know that this is true. And the only messaging we need to do tonight is to look at each other and say that the lockdown and only the lockdown, and that too 100% lockdown, is going to be effective. The big stories tonight are 6. 4 of these are the big takeaways, the big news headlines, and 2 of them are my sincere appeals. The first big takeaway is that while the numbers going up, there is no big, sharp spike in India yet. That's number 1. Let's have it there on the screen. No sharp spike in India yet. We are watching the numbers very, very closely. That's number 1 in those graphics. Number 2 is that in America, with 85,000 cases and spiraling, the numbers are going up very, very fast. The third big headline is that in the United Kingdom, there's a big debate today, and this debate is relevant for all of us, after their Prime Minister Boris Johnson and their Health Secretary have tested corona positive. So UK has got a lot to think about. The fourth, unfortunately, anecdotally and otherwise, I can tell you my reporters are also putting this information out, is that the lockdown compliance is not yet 100%. Really unfortunate. The fifth is my appeal that viewers, please help us report and expose the lockdown violators. They are compromising our health. They are compromising our future. And the fifth point tonight, which I want to point out, is that we need to sideline the lockdown critics because they have no solution. The negativity gang needs to learn to keep quiet when the country is coming together. Ladies and gentlemen, on debate number 2, I will continue what was a very popular segment on the debate yesterday, which was the lockdown questions once again. And at 10:30 p.m. tonight, we'll do a relative assessment of how we are placed vis-a-vis the rest of the world. So we got a lot of packed up for you. And here are the headlines this Friday evening, the 27th of March, on the debate tonight. With the highest cases in Kerala and Maharashtra, corona cases have crossed the 700 mark nationwide. From ensuring social distancing to helping out those in need, COVID warriors are leading the battle against the pandemic.
All the lending institutions are being permitted to allow a moratorium of 3 months on payment of installments in respect of all term loans outstanding as on 1st March 2020.
More help for the people of India. The Reserve Bank announces 3.74 lakh crore liquidity and a 3-month freeze on EMIs to ease the corona lockdown economic impact. The lobby comes out with its unfounded and unnecessary criticism in this lockdown period. It's time they quarantine their negative attitudes. Your questions, medical doubts and lockdown queries all will be answered in a special debate edition at 10 p.m. tonight.
I've developed mild symptoms of the coronavirus, that's to say a temperature and a persistent cough.
And UK's belated action hits them hard. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, his Health Minister and Health Secretary test positive for COVID-19. Viewers, for those perpetually cribbing and forcing a narrative that paints this government as a heartless government, our country as a heartless country that does not care about the poor, here are some facts tonight. 1, medical experts across the world believe that lockdown is the only way to contain the virus. 2, for those saying this government has cut India's poor adrift, a lie, not just a negative narrative, they need to know that only yesterday, our Indian government announced one of the largest massive financial packages that will benefit 800 million Indian citizens. And 3, those talking about migrant laborers, the Home Ministry and the Labour Ministry are in constant touch and a situation is in the anvil. The point tonight is of opportunists, viewers. What are we going to do with the opportunists? The negativity of those armchair pessimists, the lockdown critics, which must be quarantined.
Hi folks, I want to bring you up to speed with something that's happening today, which is that I've developed mild symptoms of the coronavirus, that's to say a temperature and a persistent cough. And on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer, I've taken a test that has come out positive.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive for coronavirus, putting the entire British cabinet at risk. The virus has also infected his Health Minister and Health Secretary. Many believe this should be a wake-up call for countries like the United Kingdom and the United States of America, whose leaders put their economic targets above the lives of their own people, while repeatedly downplaying the threat of the pandemic.
I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody.
India's approach, a sharp contrast to that of these global powers.
बहुत आवश्यक है निश्चित तौर पर इन लॉकडाउन की एक आर्थिक कीमत देश को उठानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन एक एक भारतीय के जीवन को बचाना, आपके जीवन को बचाना, आपके परिवार को बचाना इस समय मेरी, भारत सरकार की, देश की हर राज्य सरकार की, हर स्थानीय निकाय की सबसे बड़ी प्राथमिकता है।
Putting people first, this has been Prime Minister Narendra Modi's top priority. The government is aware of the economic ramifications of the world's biggest lockdown, but it believes
आपको याद रखना है, जान है तो जहान है।
But since the day of the lockdown, Twitter pessimists and armchair critics have been at it, desperately trying to present this government as a heartless government that doesn't care for the poor, that doesn't care for migrant laborers. Darlings of the Lutyens media, the likes of former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan, are even doling out medical advice. Unlike medical experts, Raghuram Rajan believes lockdown may not be enough to contain the spread of the coronavirus. And the Lutyens pessimists are going out of the way to provide oxygen to the negativity gang. So here's a reality check for them. In the last 2 days, the government has made 2 important announcements that provide relief to the common man and the poor. The 1.7 lakh crore COVID fund will help 80 crore Indian citizens, especially ones from economically weaker sections.
So the package that we come up with will benefit those migrant workers, those poor, those urban and rural poor, and the women. And this Prime Minister Garib Kalyan scheme that we want to come out with is expected to meet a total of 1,70,000 crores.
And today the relief coming in from the RBI will help bank borrowers.
All lending institutions basically in the system are being permitted to allow a 3-month moratorium. I repeat, all the lending institutions are being permitted to allow a moratorium of 3 months on payment of installments in respect of all term loans outstanding as on 1st March 2020.
So the lockdown critics should probably do better in their quarantine period. Let's debate.
Viewers, I thank everyone for joining me on my panel tonight. My attempt in the course of the coverage, not just today, but till we beat COVID-19, will be to spread information and awareness. I do not want to do political debates, but let me say this: we stand with our government, with the state machinery. Our network stands with the forces, with the local administration, and with the policemen, because they, above all, are pulling all stops to ensure that India flattens the curve, that we mitigate the COVID crisis, that we make the lockdown a success. And so I just want to say in my introductory remarks tonight, viewers, I want you to be cautious. I want you to be cautious of the perpetual fault finders, the insufferable muckrakers, and the armchair quibbers. When we face an existential crisis as this one, we don't need them. And if they spring up out of habit, if nothing else, we must put them down. They want to discredit the lockdown before it's begun. And they will creep up, let me tell you, viewers. They will creep up more in 4 or 5 days.
For 2 days.
I will continue what I'm saying and then I'll begin the debate. Let me tell you, viewers, I understand this group very well. Let me complete, please, Saurabh and Surip. I just want my introductory comments, viewers. I placed my comments before you, viewers. I'll tell you what they do. I have been in journalism now for 23 years. I know them inside out. I'll tell you what they are going to do. They will start by putting out some articles here and there in their favorite liar wires or fake scrolls. Then they will speak like a cackle of geese. 8 or 9 of them will spread the same narrative, the same picture. Like yesterday, laborers walking home. Oh, our cruel government does not care for the poor. And then they will say, we are not asking questions of ourselves. They will live in their gated communities and pretend to be spokespersons for the poor when they know that it is the government which has worked for the poor. And then they will try to discredit the lockdown by saying it will not scientifically have any advantages, like Raghuram Rajan, knows nothing about healthcare or public healthcare, is not a doctor, but feels that we have failed before we started. And I genuinely do not know whether people like Raghuram Rajan has an alternative. If he doesn't have an alternative, there are times for him to kindly shut up. Now we need to believe, viewers, that the only option is a lockdown. So I begin by saying, if there are people who want to put down the lockdown, take them on. If there are people who want to defeat the lockdown, take them on and say that our families' lives depend on it. If there are people who want to discredit the lockdown, look at them in the eye and ask them whether they have a better solution. If there are people sitting in Indiana like Raghuram Rajan who say this lockdown will not be effective, question them and ask them what expertise they have. And if there are people, there's another person here. There are people who say that India seems willing to be the world champion in stupidity just because on Sunday 1 billion people came together and clapped together. Then ask them that when the same thing happens in London, why do they applaud it? These are the people who want to play games with our mind. And it's a long introduction. I will say this because I've been wanting to say this since yesterday, viewers. I'm saying to you, viewers, look at the numbers in the United States of America. Let them not preach to us. Look at their numbers. Look at their numbers, viewers. Look at the numbers in the United Kingdom, viewers. Look at the numbers in the United Kingdom. And the first case of COVID-19 in the UK happened around the same time as us. Look at where we are and look at where they are. And understand, viewers, that these people are also doing it because of political interest. They even now believe that if we win, then it could end up bolstering a particular party's image. And if we lose, it's their only opportunity at trying to play on our minds and say, we could have done better. And I have no hesitation in saying that as of now, be warned, people of India, be warned against those people who want to kill people in India to gain a political advantage. I will use the word kill. There are people in India who want Indians to die. Because if more Indians die and if the lockdown is ineffective, then they will benefit. Let's put it plainly tonight. I hope you don't mind me speaking my mind. Now we'll begin the debate. I'd like to start with Baichung Bhutia, one of India's greatest footballers, now president of the Hamro Sikkim party. Live from Sikkim tonight. Baichung, thank you. Baichung reached out to us and he really wanted to participate in the program. Baichung, big fan of yours. Thank you for joining me. What should we do right now to support the lockdown? Should we not also expose the lockdown critics? And how is the lockdown being enforced? How effective is it in Sikkim?
I think it's very important.
Can't hear you, Baichung.
Support the government right now. It's an emergency case, and I think the decision has been very, very welcoming. Though it's a very challenging, it's a difficult decision, but I think it is the best decision for, I think, country with so many millions of people. So I think we need to support at this moment, be with the government and make sure that we stay safe and not try and spread the virus to our family and the community. So that is the only way and only option right now.
Yeah. Viewers, thank you very much, Baichung. More power to you. Let me tell you about the kind of language that is being used by some people. There is a person who writes, and I don't know how any responsible newspaper can publish something as uninformed, illiterate, badly written, motivated as this. The person writes an article saying, India seems to be willing to be the world champion in stupidity. This is because, I'll tell you why this was written. This was written because of the Janta Curfew Day when we all came together. And when it goes on to write, Narendra Modi cannot be accused of being a low-level cretin. He's the kind of cunning man who enjoys setting off stupidities in others. This is the kind of language being used. I am reading this today because we need to take these people on.
Who has written this?
This is what people
My
are
God.
publishing right now. This is anti-national. I'm not saying it because of the disgusting language being used to describe the Prime Minister of India. I am writing this because I'm horrified that people consider this to be opinion. And that's why I wanted to start off the debate, because we can't blind ourselves to the reality of what some people are doing. Saurabh Shukla, I want to start with you. There is a deliberate attempt at building an anti-lockdown narrative in India.
Arnab?
Do you have any doubts about it?
Yes. Absolutely. Arnab, there is a reason why this is happening. They never expected that the way Indian government has handled this crisis, they have evoked praises from all across the globe, from world leaders, from international organizations like WHO, who are praising India's response. Lockdown was the answer. Prime Minister did not want to do it because he had some fun about having a lockdown of 1.3 billion, because this was the need of the hour. This was the advice given by the topmost health experts of the country and the assessment that was made at the highest quarters. People don't realize that by not adhering to a lockdown situation, you're not only endangering the lives of you and your family, but the entire community around you. Imagine, and those people who are against this lockdown, the lockdown lobby, are doing it with purpose. They are fomenting trouble. They are wanting to create this, vitiate the atmosphere. They are working against our hard-working doctors, our police people, people in the government who are making sure that everything is taken care of. Because you don't realize, if you don't adhere to this, you will have mayhem in this country. You don't want, they are the people who are working against the interest of this country and 1.3 billion Indians. They need to be called out. This is time for every Indian who wants this country to prosper, who wants this country to make sure that we defeat COVID, to come together and say that we will stand up against this lobby, which is doing it deliberately.
I am putting the numbers, viewers. Please look at these numbers. And I'm not saying that we are past the crisis. And I'm not saying that the curve will necessarily be flattened. And I'm not saying that any of us can prophesize into the future, for God knows we cannot. But God also knows this, that we are together. That we are together. And this is the time when we shall not be silent. This is the time when we will not allow people, not even a certain person, we shall not believe that these critics are insignificant because, and only because, and I want to repeat this, because we think they are insignificant, we ignored them many times in the past, but this time we'll take them on. I want to give another example, Anand. These Western media publications have certain journalists, one of them based, I was said in Goa, who wrote an article saying India is showing how not to respond to a pandemic. And they weave in CAA. And they say at a time like this of criticality, Hindu nationalist government introduced and passed a controversial new law. What does CAA have to do with the coronavirus? It called the Delhi riots a pogrom. The Lion said in the same article, which is supposed to be about the coronavirus, they lie about it. And Anand, one more thing. They almost declare that a disaster awaits India. And say all of this is to say nothing of the medical disaster that may well await India. It's almost like they wish. It's almost, I'm sorry to say, it's almost as if they wish that this should get worse in India for their selfish advantage. But should we look the other way, viewers? I don't think we should. Anand.
They wish it. And yeah, very quickly, Arnab, 4 points. I totally agree with you, but I have to make these 4 points. One, no lockdown in the world is 100% successful. Even in Spain, as you know, which is really facing the wrath of COVID, their lockdown is not 100% successful. And in India, even if you were to believe that 50% of the lockdown has been successful, that is the total combined population of whole of Europe and America, 600, 700 million people. So what are they talking about that lockdown is not successful? Agreed. Right now, according to me, there are a lot of things that need to be, ironed out, which is the migrant labor. Just today in the UP-Delhi border, we've seen thousands of people collecting, going to their thing. These things have to be worked out. So according to me, our lockdown is probably 60 to 70% there. But that doesn't mean that lockdown is not important. And number two, very important, Arnab, you showed that very important graph. I would like to say that it is not the number of cases that matters, But the real scaremongering by these people is being made by the death rate, which these people, remember they were saying by July, India would have 15 million dead. They are basing the death rate of 3 to 4%. If you look at the Italian the new scientific model that has come up, they are saying Italy might be underreporting by 7 times. French model, scientific model says France might be underreporting by 15 times. Which means that the death rate is very close to flu.
The question
which is 0.1% or maximum 0.3 to 0.4%.
Correct.
People are not dying, they are not falling on the streets, and this is what troubles these guys.
No,
this
no,
is why they are
then what
annoyed.
troubles them?
And they
No,
are
no, what
leading-
troubles
they are
them?
not
And
scientists, first of all.
I
They're not
truly.
epidemiologists.
No. The thing is this, you see. The thing is, there are times when we need to
They are
nip
scaring
something
people.
in the bud. Allow me to bring in Farooq, please, into the debate with Sambit Patra. The question is, sometimes, and this is that time. And okay, and sometimes on occasion, and this is that occasion. This is that occasion when we need to nip it in the bud. For nobody is wiser, and everybody is wiser in hindsight. Why should our country fall prey to this small cabal that wants to inject negativity at this time? All of us in the media, viewers, you know that at the Republic Network, we've stopped all programming. We consider ourselves essential services, and all we are doing is give alternatives and options, spread information, bring doctors into our panel. And hence, if we are doing all this good, we must not allow the negative forces to come in. And my question is, should we expose the lockdown critics? Let's get Farooq into this. Should we not expose more directly and more brutally the lockdown critics?
Arnab, perfect. First of all, let me start with congratulating you. I was seeing your program at 7 at Republic Bharat, wherein you have, taken all these doctors and you have opened the helpline numbers as well. It was wonderful. I congratulate you, and I wish that you will continue with such endeavor in future as well. Coming back to you, this point, Arnab, nobody is against the lockdown, and whosoever is saying and criticizing the lockdown is, you may be right, quote unquote, that there might have been certain agenda. Our query, we are not concerned with the lockdown. Lockdown must prevail. If not for 21 days is not going to solve, it should go for 42 days, 3 months. The cost of saving human life is extremely precious. Now, Arnab, the basic point which the government needs to answer is about the preparation of, God forbid, any worst scenario. How many ventilators do we have? How many ICU do we have? What we are doing for the migrant workers? These are our own people. We have to raise question for them. So nobody is opposing government at this point of time. What I'm trying to ask, or what anybody will try to ask, except of those people with certain agenda, that even those people who are fellow Indians have to be protected. They have to be taken care of. The government must show its sensitivity thereon. I'm not saying that government will have certain, magic stick and it will be solved overnight. But government should come up with certain more concrete steps. That's all. And whosoever is criticizing the lockdown, I can assure you, Arnab, that he or she may have certain hidden agenda.
Absolutely. I congratulate you.
He or she may be against the idea of India.
I congratulate you. I congratulate you, Farooq. Over the course of the last few years that I've known you, I have fought you on every occasion. I've disagreed with you night after night. And you've walked out of my shows and probably will on other occasions in the future. But tonight I congratulate you. I congratulate you for rising above all differences.
It is on the top priority.
I congratulate you. I therefore have come to believe, Farooq, that we are more together today. People ask me who's writing all this rubbish that was written out there. I am proud of my Prime Minister who communicated the need. And I want to tell you, you talk about preparation tonight. The best way to prepare for the lockdown was the Janta curfew. And you needed an act of solidarity on the day of the Janta curfew. And the Prime Minister, in his rightful wisdom, asked for us all to clap together. And those people who sit in New York and write these articles for low-level newspapers do not understand. Do not understand. They do not understand the soul of this country. And I'll tell you, people ask me who writes these things. Let me tell you, the people who write these things These
now
people
all
who
these
write these
guys-
things are those who call themselves Indian, but whose heart is not in India. The people who write these things, the people who write these things are people who call themselves Indian and come to our country to make money, who sell the fact on global shows that they came from India and yet betray our country when it counts. These are the traitors to our country.
I just have to add one thing, Arnab.
And I don't think we should spare them now.
One thing here, Arnab.
One more thing.
I just had to add.
One more thing. Raghuram, I have to come to many others, so let's get Tanveer in, let's get Royden Roach in. Royden, you know the point that we are making here now. Let's talk about this man, Raghuram Rajan, who should learn when to keep shut when he doesn't know. Raghuram Rajan says, Ajay Alok and Royden, he says, he declares lockdown keeps people from going to work. I mean, is he a kindergarten student with no brains?
Is he serious?
He says lockdown keeps people from going to work. Of course, Raghuram, it keeps people from going to work. That is the intention. Don't sound so intellectually challenged when you write. Then he says it keeps them at home. Of course it keeps them at home, Raghuram. What do you think it's aimed at? It's aimed at keeping them at home. I mean, you have to be, pardon my assessment of the situation, either completely motivated or perhaps you suffer from some inabilities to reason and logic to say things like this. And then he says, Raghuram Rajan says, lockdown keeps people at home, which is not necessarily that pristine, isolated space. It may be hard to prevent infections from spreading. Yes, Raghuram Rajan, not everybody lives in a palace like you. But that's the intention, to keep them at home. I don't understand. What made this man, Ajay Alok, an expert on infectious diseases? What made him? Isn't it simply a vile attempt by Raghuram Rajan to use even a coronavirus crisis as an opportunity to gain relevance and be a factless hypercritic? Ajay Alok, how should we deal with these kind of people?
It's just, well, the best way to deal with them right now is to absolutely ignore them as if they don't exist for us. And it's a way for Raghuram Rajan to pay back to the master sitting in India that yes, this is the opportunity I've taken to take a dig at the government and the Prime Minister on the whole. But they forget to realize that whatever the measures has been taken by India and the Indian government under the leadership of the Prime Minister, and this is for the first time after the call given by late Lal Bahadur Shastri of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, which the nation has embraced with whole heart. This time, this lockdown call has been embraced by the whole country. And right now, one of the panelists was saying 30 or 40% is not enforced. Where are you, sir? We are 135 crores population, and 30 or 40% means almost 50 crores people or 40 crores people on the road. That is not the case. In any of the town, we are not finding. Today also, even on the Delhi-Gazipur border, there were not more than 10 or 12,000 people. That not even amounts to 0.001% population. And for that population also, this government is bothered. My Chief Minister Nitish Kumar is bothered. Yogi Adityanath is bothered. They are arranging doing every stuff possible. They are doing everything possible.
Do you know the equation how many are going to get infected?
See, they are doing everything possible. But what is the bigger intention? The bigger intention is to keep the country safe.
And when
you don't understand. We want you to be safe.
Earlier on a debate,
if
on a
you
couple
are
of
so much bothered,
I said
you don't want to
clearly,
be
on the 18th, 1 minute, on the 18th of February, I mentioned there should be a clear shutdown. We should have stopped international flights and we should not give home quarantine. People coming from abroad.
Based on your assumption, sir, the shutdown is not taken. Based on your assumption, the shutdown is not taken. Shutdown can only be taken when there are patients. In India, the patients started increasing from 4th of March. Don't you understand that? In India, the patients started increasing only from 4th of March.
Even to the last flight coming in, we had people sent for home quarantine. And the people are roaming about. So
I say this to you.
Wanting a lockdown.
You are making useless arguments.
Royden, thank you. Royden, 1 minute. Royden, 1 minute. Sambit is on the debate as well, and Sunil Chopra. Thank you very much. I think Tanveer's video is very bad, but I'll try to get them in. Viewers, first of all, I thank you Please, I'm telling you, I'm going to have slight bit of audio disturbances, video disturbances sometimes, but you please put up with us because we are getting people connected on Skype, links, using all technology to put people together. But one thing we tell you, we are going to bring you this program every single night. My question here is, Suneet Chopra, my issue is one of responsibility. And my point which I wanted to raise with you, Suneet, and maybe Sambit can respond, is that, for example, there is a gossip columnist and socialite in Mumbai. These people sit in their high rises with champagne in their hand and start attacking the police, if for one instance maybe. And this gossip columnist and socialite says, when police start attacking their own people, we are doomed. So much precious milk and foodstuff gone to waste. So idea is to somehow try and create a negative narrative. You take a simple example and you try to build a situation as if policemen are going and attacking delivery boys and delivery men. It's not the truth. Why would people do that? Tell me, Suneet Chopra, what, if you can hear me, what is driving the negativity of these people?
Yes.
What are they seeking to do? Why can't they join the rest of the country in supporting the lockdown?
And there are people who are doing very good work there. They're giving Anganwadi food to people. And one of their people was, in fact, attacked by the police. Now, why are they doing it? There's no reason to do it. We are all observing this lockdown as best we can. And here is the police terrorizing those who have no alternative.
No. One point. I take that example. What you're, Sambit Patra, I come back to you. One particular publication published on 25th March, Coronavirus Lockdown, Narendra Modi has cut India's poor adrift. This was just before the massive package was announced yesterday for the poorest sections of our country. And the package was essentially focused on the poor. Why was there a tearing hurry? The question goes to Sambit, but anyone can. Why is there a tearing hurry to try and prove to the world that this is going to set the poor adrift? What is the desperation in presenting the false narrative? Sambit.
See, Arnab, you have to understand one thing. These naysayers, whom we debate night after night, these naysayers will continue to be naysayers. Supposedly, if you had a situation where the Prime Minister would not have announced a lockdown, then these people would have been writing to the Washington Post or whatever that newspaper is called, or the New York Post, Times, or whatever that newspaper is called, as to why half of India is going to die just because the Prime Minister has given priority to the economy and not to the lives of people, as to why he has not declared a lockdown. So whatever the Prime Minister does...
them food.
Sir, just a second. Sir, I don't want to shout tonight, sir. You are my elder.
No,
I want to care for you.
I am
sir,
with you on the lockdown. But don't
thank you, sir.
Sir,
Suneet ji, I don't want to shout tonight.
The poorest people
sir,
of this country.
We are not terrorists, sir. We are not terrorizing anyone,
yes,
sir. Please don't terrorize me in the debate.
I've seen your
Please don't terrorize
people.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, आप बड़े हैं, ऐसे चिल्लाइए मत. अच्छा नहीं है सेहत के लिए and please sir let's be calm.
हम
these debates
जितना कर सकते हैं कर रहे हैं.
ठीक है करेंगे सर. आप चिल्लाइए मत, शांति से सुनिए, मैं बोल लूं फिर
और सब एक है, लेकिन आपने गरीबों का नहीं सोचा जब बीच रात में बकवास की हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने.
क्या Mr. Goswami, why do you call this man? He says प्रधानमंत्री बकवास कर रहे हैं. He has lost it. Please let's not call.
Thank you, Suneet Chopra, please.
Mr.
Please
Goswami, we don't need such people to spread panic. We don't need such people to give out such kind of homilies to us. He is my elder. I respect him.
You are creating the panic. If you had taken care to send them home, if you had done what Kerala did, giving them houses, there would have been no problem.
Thank you, Suneet Chopra. We're widening the debate now. You made your point, sir. Please remain disciplined, sir.
Mr. Goswami, can I please have some sane talk? Mr. Goswami, I want to come up with some empirical data which everyone should hear as to how important lockdown is. Supposedly, one person in this country gets COVID-19 disease and the country is not in lockdown, then this man in 5 days will be infecting 2.5 people. That means 2 or 3 people. And in 30 days, that means in a month, the person would be infecting 406 people, more than 400 people. If the country is in 50% lockdown, then the same man...
Stop it, please. Stop it, please. Thank you very much, Suneet Chopra. Everyone on, please. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I warned you. I warned you and And now I will not hesitate to ask you to be quiet tonight.
I just want to come out with this data. This is extremely important. Everyone in the country should hear this data.
Online. I
Just a
appreciate you for
second,
that,
sir.
but it's not right. Let me tell you.
Mr. Goswami,
Today,
I'm just
we are
giving out
looking
something
at
which
a
everyone should
huge
listen
number
to.
infection.
Everyone
You're
should listen to
talking
this data. This is an
per day,
extremely
one
important
person-
part.
Continue. Thank you.
one
Reduce the
person
volume.
who
Let's
is
continue.
having
Please calm
Thank
down.
infection.
See, I was saying that the country is not in a lockdown, and if a single person has COVID-19 disease, then this single man spreads it to 2 to 3 people in 5 days and 406 people in 30 days. The same man, if he has COVID-19 disease, and we have 50% lockdown, the same man in 5 days infects only one person, and in 30 days, that is a month, infects only 15%. And if the country has 75% lockdown, the same man infects less than 1%. That is 0.6%. 0.6% in 5 days, and only 2 people in 30 days. That's a month. This is the importance of lockdown. And let me tell you, for God's sake, this disease does not have a cure.
Absolutely.
Prevention is the cure. Prevention is the cure. So if we want to remain safe, sound, healthy, then we have to project towards prevention.
It's
and
also-
lastly, Mr. Goswami, I would just like to say one jargon from medical science.
And there is also some good news coming in,
It is
Arnab,
better to have.
which
it
is that
better to have
NIV
a
and
living
ICMR
problem.
have already
Just a second,
approved
Anand.
10 antibody kits.
Just a second, Anand.
So in the
Just a
next
second,
couple of
Anand.
days-
Just a second, Anand. Just a
I
second.
was just telling
In
you
medical
good news, Dr.
jargon,
Patra.
in medical jargon, it is said that it's better to have a living problem than a dead one. Well, yes, economy is important, but it's only important when I and you live. If I and you are not going to live, there's nothing called as economy on a dead body.
Hence it is actually proved, and I'll come in here. Hence
Now,
it is
Arnab,
actually
I'd just like
proved.
to add to that. I think it was very important what Dr. Patra said. He was talking about the R0 ratio, and I completely agree with him. The other good news is that the ICMR and NIV Pune have tested the antibody kits that we sorely need, because we need to find out how many millions of Indians have already got COVID and have recovered. And that is so important, because that would really crash down the death rate, which is what these people are using to scare the population.
Absolutely. Viewers, on this program on exposing the lockdown critics, I want to remind you once again that at 10 o'clock this evening, viewers, at 10 o'clock this evening, we will bring back our popular segment, which is lockdown questions, which was very useful yesterday. Tell me one thing, if you can hear me, Baichung. Baichung, are you still there? Baichung?
Yes.
Baichung, just
Yes,
tell
I
me
am.
one thing. What can people do, and what are you doing, for example? What can people do, people like you with a lot of following, what can they do to spread the awareness? Because even if 1% of our people get infected by the lockdown critics, then this whole movement can collapse. What more can we do? What are you doing, for example?
See, I think it's important to educate and bring awareness to the people, and especially, all the influencing people in India should, I think, try and support the government at these difficult times and try and educate and, try and bring awareness to the people, because I think, coronavirus is definitely very new in India as well, and not many people are aware of it. So I think the most important thing by bringing this 21-day lockdown and a Janta curfew was to keep people away from each other. So that is very, very important. Social distancing was very, very important.
Yeah.
Stay safe inside the house.
Absolutely.
But this awareness, I think, people who's got influence in the society has to bring in.
Absolutely.
And in fact, I was just listening to you earlier. Now, my only request is that, in this 21 lockdown, the people most affected are the migrant workers. So I hope, I know that police have been doing a great work, but 1 or 2 policemen might just be a little aggressive. So I think, they're already affected because of the lockdown.
Absolutely. No.
So I think just that they need to be a little careful and be a little gentle on that.
What happens is, I'll tell you one thing, Baichung, can I just explain this to you? Good talking to you about this today. You see, when we as journalists hear that migrant workers are walking a long distance to go home, there are 2 options that we have. We can report it and say that someone should help them and be genuine about it. That's one way. It will actually be good. And in this case, let me tell you that the government has immediately swung into action and is doing a lot to help the migrant workers, details of which we are reporting on Republic TV, Republic Bharat, and on our digital platform, Republic World. But unfortunately, can I tell you this, Baichung, that there are some freelance journalists who are saying that this is a great opportunity to earn some money. So what these freelance journalists then do is that they write this, they think this is a great story that will be picked up in certain sections of the American media, because if we write badly about our country and we put down our country, then it will sell to American audiences. It will be a distraction to Americans who are already at the middle of the massive COVID crisis, and you know America is the epicenter. It will make Americans feel good that India is worse. And I was actually shocked. See, when an instance like that happens, what you should say is, migrant labor is in trouble, government steps in to help, right? That's the story. However, in this case, Saurabh, and you know how headlines are spun, in this case, Saurabh, you know what one particular freelance journalist did?
Absolutely.
She wrote an article saying that even with relatively few confirmed cases reported, the coronavirus is already exposing the deep fault lines in Indian society. And then others go on to say poverty may first kill us. Do these, you know, how awful this is? That these people,
that sells.
These people
get those dollars.
You know,
that sells.
Yeah, because it won't sell. It won't sell to write in an American publication in Washington Post that India is giving free rations to the poor for 3 months. It will not sell if you write that, you know, in India you don't have to pay your mortgage for 3 months. You have to present a negative story
directed at poor people.
Exactly. I think you should tell people the truth why this happens. That's the reason I'm asking people to be cautious.
Arnab, the reality is that some of these people are deliberately spinning out a narrative because they cannot digest the fact that the government was proactive, that they have released one of the biggest welfare measures which was directed at poor people. The fact is, as you said rightly, any journalist who is objective, any journalist who cares about India and the fact that Indians should be saved from COVID would be reporting objectively. Reporting objectively means that you tell wherever the local authorities that if there is a problem with a migrant worker, if there is a problem with food distribution, you point it out. But you don't paint this picture because you are otherwise trying to lower the morale of thousands of doctors, thousands of policemen who are making sure that this lockdown is successful. People outside, civil society is working overtime. You are actually hitting at their morale, hitting it badly because of your own ulterior motives, because you want to create a narrative of India which is not correct narrative, which is suits to your own narrow agenda.
You know,
and I have to say, people like Sunit also have to realize this is the time again to stand up with the Prime Minister and the people of India. This is not the time to try to score brownie points for what?
Yeah.
Brownie points at a time when the government is working at all levels.
Yeah,
imagine the kind of work that our people that done in Indian missions, getting those people out.
I will take some names tonight, viewers, and I shall say this. I shall say this. I'll wrap up by saying this, viewers. People like the Congress spokesperson Sanjay Jha retweeting posts saying we are staring at mass starvation deaths. Sanjay Jha, tell the people of India what you have done. What you have done or what you will do. Because the fact is the government has put out a 1.76 lakh crore relief package for the poor, which includes free cooking gas and direct cash transfer benefits. Sanjay Jha, stop being an opportunist in these times. Ashok Swain sits in a Scandinavian country, I'm naming people today, and I will, says Modi will blame Corona, but it is Modi who is to be blamed for ruining India's economy. You know, the fact of the matter is that people like Ashok Swain should know that India will rise. It is people like him who sit in Scandinavia, and lecture to us who will be opposed. Last word today to Tanveer, who's finally back on the video link. Tanveer, lockdown works. Are we going to be united or not through this? What do you think? I'm sure we will. Tanveer.
Arnab, there is no other option than to be united during the lockdown. This is not the time to complain or to praise the Prime Minister. It is to work together as you and your channel is rightly doing. There is absolutely no better option than to have this lockdown work as long as it takes. If there is some people suffering, so be it. so be it, because we can't really afford any more deaths to happen here in India because of the population and because of the infrastructure what we have.
Yeah.
The only way India can really survive, India can really stay, India can really fight back this coronavirus syndrome, the pandemic, is by staying at home.
I will have to conclude.
If anybody has a problem,
I will have to conclude.
Shut up and stay
I will
at
have to
home. That's
conclude
exactly
for want
what I
of
want to
time.
say.
I'll only say one thing. If you're a stakeholder in this country, I'm a stakeholder. We're all stakeholders. If your future is linked to the future of this country, support the lockdown. We'll come out of this. On the other side tonight, an interactive segment, the lockdown questions. Don't miss that. I'll be back.